In this video, we're gonna do something that we've never done before. Finish a project car. This is Normie. He's our 1998 Volkswagen Golf project that we bought for $3,000. And we've been modifying him for the past year or so in very normal, accessible ways to show people that you don't have to spend a ton of money or do some crazy engine swap that's gonna break the internet if you wanna have a fun project car.
This was so simple.
We've upgraded his suspension, brakes, stereo, and lights. We gave him new body panels. We did a very fast and very awesome junkyard engine swap and added a very sick custom Borla exhaust. I absolutely love this car. And even though he's come a long way from the $3,000 Golf that we brought home last year, there's still a few things that we need to tackle in order for him to be finished. The seats are all faded, headliner's falling down, the shifter box is jiggly, the locks don't work, the roof is absolutely cooked, the gauge cluster is cracked, the fitment is not perfect, it's a little messy in here. I don't even know what happened there. We upgraded the rear drum brakes to disc, but didn't upgrade the master cylinder, so braking does not inspire confidence. So today it is all about the small things, baby. And also, two pretty big things. This week, we're giving Normie the finishing touches that he deserves. We are in Chris's shop right now. Should we tell everyone what we're doing?
Yeah, Chris, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing to Normie?
Little makeover.
Yeah.
Great, Chris. Love the detail.
So there are a lot of little things that Normie needs to achieve his final form, but two very big things that are going to take the most time are upholstery and paint. So we're going to get the jump on disassembling him for paint, and we're going to send the interior out to S-Rank Automotive Upholstery to start getting recovered, because this may come as a surprise to some of you guys, but none of us know how to sew. Now I've been a part of a lot of car builds, and they all get to this point. The big stuff is done, but there's still a pile of little tasks. Things that aren't fun and are hard to justify spending time or money on. So you live with the inconveniences and the quirks. But I'm telling you guys, this is death by 1,000 paper cuts. Ultimately, fixing the little things is the difference between driving your project car every chance you get and driving it only when you're in the mood. And I refuse to let Normie see such a tragic fate. Interior stuff sucks. It's a long road. It won't be easy. But I want to prove to myself and to you guys that it can be done and it's worth it. Door cards officially off. With the interior stripped out and off to the upholstery shop, the car's basically ready for paint. We're just waiting on the shop to have an opening. So in the meantime, we're going to take a closer look at our list and ponder the steps that we should take next. I've broken everything down into 3 categories: reliability, quality of life, and aesthetics. Some of these things are really easy, and some are really hard. I want to start with the things that have been bothering me the most to help keep my spirits high and motivate me as we ease our way into some of the more difficult stuff. So we're going to start with working on the shifter box. Oh, I just hit myself in the face. The shifter and transmission in this car come from a newer Volkswagen, and when we installed it with the engine swap, we never properly took our time to secure it to the chassis. So there's a lot of play, especially when you're doing spirited shifts. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. So we're gonna raise the car up, drop the exhaust, and see if there's some place where we can add metal and weld in some bracing better.
This is a Euro piece. The factory piece, I'm assuming, bolted there and then made like a little Z thing and bolted up there. So there's 2 things we can do. We can go crazy and make those work, or I just put it all the way up and make a bracket.
In this case, we're not gonna go crazy. Finishing what you started doesn't mean finishing it perfectly. Sometimes, if the end result is the same, do it as quick and dirty as you can, make as much progress as possible.
That feels pretty good.
That'll keep your spirits and motivation high, which is what you need to see something like this through.
Way better.
Next up, let's take a look at the engine bay. There's a lot that needs to happen here. We need to replace the brake master cylinder with a bigger one, replace the power steering pump, and beef up the cooling system. All very important things. We have the power steering pump in hand, so I think I'm going to start there while we wait for other parts to come in. The crank powers the power steering pump, which in turn powers all of the accessories. So if the power steering pump goes out, we literally can't drive the car. I went on a road trip shortly after we finished the swap, and the power steering pump started whining really loud. You see how the power steering fluid is like grayish? That's aluminum from the inside of the pump kind of eating itself alive, which means good idea to replace it. We're doing great so far. The pulley and mounting hardware on this pump are highly specialized parts that make the power steering pump work with this engine swap. So I just have to move those pieces over to the new part. It's a pretty easy install, but we do have to deal with that serpentine belt, which is always kind of a pain.
Yeah, well, hey, you got it on. Yeah, cool. Good job.
Moral of the story, your car will absolutely eat itself alive if you let it, which, funny enough, is exactly why your oil filter exists. Did you know there was a time that cars didn't have oil filters? Before 1923, your engine just basically marinated in its own filth until it died. Since nothing was catching the metal shavings or carbon soot, your oil would turn into this nasty, abrasive, grinding paste in just a few hundred miles. You literally had to swap your oil like every 500 miles just to keep the whole thing from seizing up. That all changed when the two founders of today's sponsor, Purelator, got fed up and invented the first filtration system, calling it Pure Oil Later, or Purelator. They pioneered the technology that allows us to drive literally across the country without having to stop to change oil in Albuquerque, in Oklahoma City, and Indianapolis. Great places to visit, but you don't want to have to go there just to change your oil. That's why we're running the Purelator 20K in Normie. It's an American-made premium shield for your engine that offers 20,000 miles of protection. With over 99% dirt trapping power, it keeps your internals clean while you're out there just putting up miles. If you want the best value for your money and a filter that outlasts and out-dominates the road, this is how you keep it purring. Get the protection that goes the distance with the literal inventors of the oil filter, Purelator. Okay, so up next, time to address the fitment in the rear. Something that has been bothering me, honestly, probably more than the brakes or any of like the safety stuff. Thing sits in my driveway, I can see it from the garage, and all day when I'm trying to get work done, I can see that the rear wheels are too far in. So we're gonna add spacers to push them out. In addition to that, we're gonna add these camber shims. They're thinner at the top than they are at the bottom, and they will give us 1 degree of rear camber so that the top of the wheel will be pushed in towards the car and will allow us to space the wheels out and still tuck the top of the tire up in the fender. Fingies crossed. Now technically in a super high performance application, you're probably not gonna see people using camber shims, but this isn't a high performance situation. This is a high steez situation, so it should be fine. I'm feeling optimistic about this. Stance boy, moment of truth. Okay, good news and bad news. The camber shims gave us a lot of room. Too much room? Now the 15-inch spacer doesn't seem to be enough, so we still have a lot of tuck. We did buy 12.5-inch spacers just in case the 15s were too big. 15s are too small, so we're gonna stack the 12.5s on top of the 15s. We're not gonna drive like that. We're just gonna see how the wheel sits with like a 27.5-inch spacer. That looks pretty good, dude. Ah! This looks awesome, but is incredibly dangerous. And to run a spacer that is almost 30 millimeters wide is not smart. So we're not gonna do it. Might be a situation where like these wheels just aren't gonna look the way that I want them to look, even though I really, really like them. For now, I'm just gonna pop these wheels off, get rid of the camber plates, and run them with a slightly larger but not insane spacer. It's not quite how I want it to look, but it's an improvement. Next, I'm gonna head back around to the engine bay to address probably the most concerning issue on this car, the mushy brakes. The brake master cylinder converts the physical pressure of your foot on the pedal into hydraulic pressure by pushing brake fluid through the brake lines and then out to your brakes. So when we swapped out the old rear drums for discs, we went from pushing tiny wheel cylinders to much larger pistons in the calipers. So those larger calipers need a lot more fluid. So now we have a scary, mushy pedal that sinks way too far to the ground before the car actually begins to slow down. It's terrifying. So we're gonna upgrade to this larger bore master cylinder, and it'll allow us to push much more fluid with every inch of pedal travel. So not only are we gonna have better brakes, but the reservoir that comes with this bigger master cylinder no longer looks like a toilet. So performance upgrade and aesthetical upgrade. To avoid making a mess, we're gonna use this suction pump to suck out all of the brake fluid. From the outside, both of these master cylinders look pretty identical, but allegedly this one has a bigger piston inside, so hopefully the car will stop better. Shouts to Jason at Alterman for throwing this in an Uber and sending it to us. I think this maybe came off of a T3 Eurovan. This is Volkswagen guy wizardry. Badass. Badass. Tell me that's not badass. We've made a lot of progress. We've done everything we can before paint. It's time to get this thing over to Castro Bros Collision to finally make him look like he deserves. The booth is open now, so we're gonna take advantage. I've never painted a car, and I'm very excited about it. Initially, I was like, man, we could paint it any color that we want. And then we decided that we would just do a respray in silver, so we didn't have to do the engine bay or the door jams or anything. And then I was like, oh man, we can do any silver that we want. Turns out silver is not just silver. There's a ton of different types of silver. And ultimately, we decided to go with Silver Aero Metallic from a 1998 Volkswagen Golf K2. It's just a really good silver. Volkswagen knows how to make cool colors. And even though silver is sort of commonplace nowadays, back in 1998, there weren't a lot of silver Volkswagens. And so finding a Silver Aero Mark III used to be a dream of mine. So we decided to just keep him the color that he is. So I'm really looking forward to this car finally being shiny all over and look good from every angle. After the initial coats of primer and base color, the car needs to go into a paint booth to get a clear coat. Now this is the kind of thing that separates the amateurs from the professionals. Dust, debris, eyelashes, boogers, any sort of insect under the sun will ruin the clear coat. So this room is positively pressured to keep out any foreign contaminants. Meanwhile, our buddies at S-Rank Automotive are reupholstering the interior. Now, I'm not going to show you what they're doing just yet because it's a bit of a surprise. This whole process, upholstering and repainting, took almost 5 days, but today we're back at Chris's shop, ready for the reveal. Whoa. Dude, it's sick looking. I've never painted a car. Like not even at Donut, we didn't even paint any of our cars. We just like wrapped them. Dude, the door handles look sick. Did you see we shaved the recesses? While this car was at paint, I actually had the guys do some body work and shave some things. The antenna hole, the wiper fluid nozzles on the hood, and my favorite, the door handle recesses, just to make Normie a little smoother and a little sleeker. Having an old VW is all about doing little things that only other VW guys will notice. Dude, this car rules, dude. Oh, and the carpet. Oh yeah, in the big reveal, we're going with this bright blue color for the interior. And since the outside is such kind of like a boring color, a nice like kind of loud pop on the inside makes it is like really sick. The carpet makes it feel like it's like an Audi RS car or something. I love it. I am super excited. I can't wait to put all the stuff back on it. We are entering the final stretch. We've torn the car down and now we can start building it back up. I'm gonna start putting the interior back together while Chris works on the cooling system. If you thought that taking 30-year-old plastic interior pieces out was a pain in the ass, oh boy, imagine putting them back in. Our badass European radiator support is a stock car part that came stock on a VR6 version of this car, but Chris being Chris, for some reason, I guess there wasn't enough fabrication on this car. So Chris is building a custom fabricated radiator for some reason.
We actually had this Griffin radiator. We just have to weld the necks in different locations and make a couple brackets. So might as well just make this one work.
Apparently for Chris, it's easier to just make something than it is to figure out what to order. Which I kind of understand. Ordering car parts is one of the most stressful things you can do ever. Like, you know how long those numbers are? And you get the wrong thing, and everyone's mad at you? It's terrible.
Inlet and return on the same tank. If we didn't do this, like, the water's gonna choose the path of least resistance. It's gonna go straight through.
Our plan was to run stock dual VR6 fans. This one is the only one that gets power, and then this one is driven by the belt, kind of like a dummy fan. This showed up yesterday, and there's nothing in the package to connect the fan to the radiator support, which is kind of a bummer, but we think we're gonna be fine. In order to keep a Venturi effect from happening, we've blocked off this side of the radiator with some very cool, very new metal diamond plate. This is like rat rod, dude. Dude, I'm so glad we painted it.
Yeah, it does.
The radiator is way too big, so back to the drawing board. This is frustrating because this felt like a big milestone in this phase of the project, and it's not. We got the best minds in North Hollywood on it, but it is frustrating.
Originally, we had put the radiator all the way up against this, and then we realized that the space between this plate and the core was very, very close. So we decided to butt up the radiator as much as we can. I think we can manage that just by cutting down our mounting tabs and removing this plate, mounting that cute little 12-inch, 11-inch ball fan. Go ahead and throw that in the trash for me.
Damn, dude. He's like rat rod, dude.
Very new metal diamond plate.
Look at that. Fits.
Radiator installed, fit, clearance, not running into anything. Behind here, 2 fans installed, not hitting anything. We should be able to put the bumper on now. Holy crap, dude. That is a milestone, brother. Dude, this car is sick, dude. It's the little things. Previously, this part was always black, and we've decided to just go full Silver Surfer mode. With the radiator finally buttoned up, we can check off the last reliability item on the list. This was way more involved than it should have been. We probably should have just ordered the right part, but we prevailed, and now we can move on to some of the more fun stuff. First up, just some small touches. I picked up these new old stock hood struts before COVID. They've been in a box of crap that I've moved to 3 different houses. It feels really good to finally get them on a car. Dude, that's sick. That's a sick car, dude. Most of the parts on this car are things that I've had lying around or in storage for years. That allowed us to piece this car together for relatively cheap in a relatively short amount of time. I also grabbed these OEM fender flares from a factory European Mark III GTI. The real reason we're running these is because I like these. These are meant to be run with OEM European fender flares that have this piece on them. Anyway, I think it's gonna add like a nice OEM plus wide element, and I'm pretty stoked about it. I was nervous that they were gonna look goofy, but I think they look sick. For the next few things on our list, Chris and I are gonna split up. I'm going back inside the car to finish up the interior, while Chris works on the airbox. Way back in the day, one of the first things Chris was known for was making OEM looking airboxes for BMWs with engine swaps. He's applying that same principle to a custom box for Normie. So it looks okay, but a little bit janky. So we're gonna build a little airbox right here. The airbox serves the purpose of keeping the intake insulated from engine heat. So you're pulling in cooler ambient air, which gives you a little bump in power. They also amplify your intake's natural sound. Now this car already sounds insane, so I'm stoked to hear it with a new, more thought out intake setup. Now we could just run a cone filter, but little things like this box really tidy up an engine bay and make a project like this feel a lot more intentional. Dialed, complete. To fit the airbox, we need to move the battery to the back of the car. We're gonna put it where the spare tire is supposed to go. Our wheels are too big for a spare tire now anyway. We actually planned for all of this from the start and already ran power cables from the front to the back while the interior was all stripped out. So now it's just a matter of mounting the battery and adding a false floor on top to keep the interior looking clean. Speaking of interior, I have something really cool planned to fix that old gauge cluster. In the 1980s, Volkswagen offered a digital gauge cluster called the DigiFizz cluster as a factory option in some Mark II GTIs, I believe. It was really expensive, so there's not a lot of those in the world in general. Plus, it's like an old 80s piece of digital tech, so the ones that do exist are often broken and need total like restoration. But there is this guy called Duplex_DigiFizz on Instagram that took it upon himself to recreate DigiFizz clusters, not only for Mark IIs, but for Mark IIIs, Mark 1s. And so I ordered one. I think it's pretty cool and just like a fun way to make my car even more dumb. That's pretty sick.
That looks like freaking Blade Runner.
Dude, it looks sick, dude. We've been working on Normie for the past 8 months, and I'm really excited for you guys to see him. We've also been working on another project for that entire time that honestly, I'm even more excited for you guys to see. This is School, the very first capsule collection from Speeed. School's inspired by like Ivy. I went to Catholic school my whole life. My dad was like a frat boy in the 80s and he always dressed really well. And I think that inspired how I dress. And really School is like based on a lot of my clothes that I found over the years, like in thrift stores and stuff. Jesse and I designed everything. Tim figured out how to make it. We put a lot of effort into the materials. A lot of it's cut and sew. I think it's cool, and I think all of you guys, literally all of you guys, would look really rad in all of this shit. It's available right now on speed.co. Everything is pretty limited, so if you want it, don't think about it, just get it. It's cool. I'm really stoked about it, and I hope you guys are too. Now, time to finish my other 8-month-long project. Normie is coming together. There's only one thing left to do. Finish the interior. And like I said earlier, we're making the entire thing blue, like really blue. Almost every single panel is covered in either blue vinyl or blue Alcantara. Because once we started talking about it, we were just like, should this be blue? We're like, yeah, probably. Should this be blue? Yeah, that should probably be blue. So I'm pretty excited about it. Normie's seats were in pretty rough shape, so since the beginning of this project, I've known that I wanted to upgrade them. Now, there are a ton of options out there. Ultimately, I decided to go with something brand new that still looked at home in a car from the 90s. These are made by a company called Scheelman. We recovered these, obviously, but Scheelman will work with you to cover your seats in a variety of different fabrics.
If everything was full vinyl leather, it would look cheesy.
Yeah.
That definitely makes it look proper.
Yeah. They're priced really well, and everyone I know who has them really likes them, so I'm really excited to get these in. So let's do it. Dude, this rules! Normie! Only one thing left to do. A very, very special thing that I saved for last. And probably the one that'll make the biggest difference in terms of this car's presence on the road. A new set of old wheels. This is a set of Schmidt race lights. I found these centers on Facebook Marketplace for $500. These are like dream wheels. I've had them sitting forever, and Normie started looking so good that I knew that this was the time to finally put them together and rock them. He deserves wheels that just fit. And with that, I can finally say that Normie is complete. Now, to the average person, from a distance, I'm sure that he doesn't look that much different than where we left off in the last video. But get a little closer, look a little deeper, and it's clear that this isn't just a project car anymore. This is a really good, really thoughtful build. A car that I can get into and drive confidently whenever I want. I don't have to worry about the tires rubbing, or the power steering going out, or the brakes not working, or the engine overheating. I can just get in and drive. And that is the biggest thing that's changed. I'm actually recording this voiceover a few weeks after we wrap this video, and I'm happy to report that I drive this car pretty much every day. And before, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but he would sit for a couple weeks. Even though he had a cool engine, cool body parts, new suspension, cool wheels, even had good speakers, he just still wasn't finished. Now, I've been talking about and working on cars for a long time, and what I've learned is it's easy to lose sight of why we fell in love with them in the first place. For me and most of the people around me, we love cars because we love to drive cars, but we rarely put in the time to get them to the point where they're actually something that we want to drive. Because honestly, that part doesn't make for the most interesting content. And while we're at it, one more confession. This video took the longest to shoot of any car build that I've ever made. Not the series, this particular video. The first one took 2 days. The second one took like 3 or 4 days. This one took over a month because we didn't want to cut any corners and we didn't want to just get the video out. That's what it took to call this thing done. It was hard and it was kind of expensive. And I get why this is the point where we've always stopped before, but I'm here to tell you that it's worth it. Because why build a car if you don't make it something that you actually want to use?